How's it going, guys and girls? This is Ketchup and Mustard here, once again coming at you with another character breakdown video. This time we're going to focus on Erron Black, Liu Kang and Shinnok. Three characters that have been speculated, but this was when they were revealed for the first time. Some really interesting gameplay mechanics here, some returning, some completely new. We're going to go straight into the first character here, which is Erron Black. Erron Black has some really interesting moves in this game. He's predominantly built as this kind of range-based character, moves sort of focusing on keeping distance and controlling space. In terms of his universal attacks, he's got like a low grenade, which he'll roll across the ground. It is a low attack, they mentioned. The meter burn will pop up, and it can control the speed of how fast it rolls along the ground. He has a grenade break, where he will basically sort of shoot the grenade and it'll explode. That's more of an anti-air move. It will start combos and continue combos, as it was mentioned. He has like a low takedown, it's like a low slide. Meter burn will do more damage. Really, that's as simple as it gets there. He's got a command grab in the form of a tackle. The meter burn will do more damage and it will create more space when you do the meter burn version. That's going to be good for sort of controlling an area. He's got a nail toss. This is a really interesting move because it will do damage over time when he throws it on the ground if the opponent stands in it. But the big deal about this is that it actually stops the opponent from sprinting. If they run on these tacks, they will not be able to sprint anymore, which pretty much means you can create space, throw tacks on the ground, and then bam, you've got instant sort of, dominance full screen because the opponent's not going to be able to just sprint in and close in that gap. Other than that, his X-ray is a tracking shot. It appears from the ground, does decent damage, and it will leave standing on hit, which they said can open up for more mix-up opportunities. In terms of universal moves, that's really it. We're going to go into his first variation now, which is Marksman. Marksman Erron Black will give access to a long rifle. The rifle serves pretty much a distance-based purpose in the game. So he has a walk-back shot, which is one of his special moves, where he will sort of walk backwards and shoot some shots off. If you meter burn this, it will go low and then mid and then high, which means that you can combo off that in the corner. If the opponent is cornered, you can then land that and then juggle off that. But it's mainly built as this kind of range-based move. He's got like a sniper shot where he'll crouch down and charge. It will just do a straight mid shot anyway, but you can charge it for it to do more damage, and you can actually cancel this also for dash cancels. And other than that, he also gets access to like a pop-up strike where he'll actually use the rifle as a melee attack, which will launch the opponent up. It will start a combo or end a combo. The meter burn version will pop them up slightly higher, which makes comboing easier. And that's it for Marksman. He just gets this rifle and it gives him some new attacks. We're going to go into the next variation now, which is Outlaw. Here's where things get a little bit interesting. So Erron Black is normally like a keep away based character, they seem to specify, but Outlaw is where he actually can fight up close and get some mix-ups and damage. He gets given a sword, which is basically a severed Tarkatan arm with a sword handle on it, which I think is really cool. But as we mentioned previously, when a character gets a variation, it's not just special moves, sometimes it's combo strings, and this is one of those cases. He gets a whole bunch of new combo strings with this variation, and in terms of special moves, he gets a sword impale. He'll break the blade off in the opponent's chest and it will tick damage over time and cause a bleed effect. However, when this is broken in their chest, you actually can't use the sword for that duration. The meter burn will just extend that and then the sword will be returned to him. Other than that, he also gets a sand flick. This is a stun attack which works up close, and it is a true stun, so it will completely stun the opponent and leave you a free hit afterwards. That's pretty cool because it can essentially guarantee an impale if that's what you want to do, or it can leave the opponent standing for some mix-ups afterwards. We're just going to have to see what people do with it, but contrary to the keep away variations he gets, this is an up close one. But when it comes to keep away, there really is no more extreme than Gunslinger. It's pretty common knowledge that this guy is a really stylish character, but this is where it gets really cool. Gunslinger Erron Black is very much a zoning variation, so he gets two new moves. He gets a standoff stance, and the standoff stance lets him do a low attack, an anti-air, and a retreat shot, all of which are gunshots. This is pretty much just can work for mix-ups, but the retreat shot is going to be your go-to zoning attack. It actually shoots twice as well, which probably means that if a character has armor from full screen, it will just chew straight through it because it'll only take one hit. He also gets access to a coin toss. He'll throw a coin in the air and shoot it, and it will the trajectory will bounce diagonally down, and that will go close, medium, and far. Again, you can control where this goes. Combine these together and you're going to have a really scary zoning character on your hands. There really seems to be some speculation as to how slow this zoning seems to be. Will you just be able to close in the space when he's stancing? But bear in mind, plenty of characters in MK9 had stances and they did just fine. You also need to bear in mind that he will have access to these tacks in all 3 variations. So you're playing this really strong zoning game, but at the same time you're now going to have tacks on the ground, so it is going to be hard for them to advance easily. That's it for Erron Black. I mean, I think he's a really cool character. He plays pretty much as I was hoping for. We're going to look at the next character now. Mustard is going to go into Liu Kang. I think it's safe to say that Liu Kang's universal attacks are very much what a lot of us expected them to be. His fireball does make a return, and this does include the high, low and airborne versions. His flying kick is coming back, very similar to the way it worked in MK9 by the looks of things. His bicycle kick is here, but something interesting about the bicycle kick is that it actually leaves the opponent standing now when it hits them, very similar to the way it did in Mortal Kombat 3. Paulo Garcia did also mention that the bicycle kick leaves Liu Kang plus when it hits, which basically means that Liu Kang can move before the opponent, so he's going to have a really strong mix-up game at the end of a bicycle kick. And his final universal attack is this spinning backhand move. Not really sure what this is used for, but it does seem to have good range. They did say it's safe on block, and if you meter burn it, it sends the opponent really far away. So if you want to be more of a keep away, far-based Liu Kang, then maybe that's a really good combo ender. In general, they did say that Liu Kang's going to be a very combo-heavy character, so he's going to be really stylish. So I'm looking forward to seeing what people do with him. But we're going to move straight into the first variation, which is Dragon's Fire. So right off the bat, it's definitely worth mentioning that although the fireballs are universal attacks for Liu Kang, they change dramatically across the 3 variations. For example, in Dragon's Fire, the low fireball seems to come out crazy fast, like it seems to have really fast startup. The standing fireball, when you enhance it, will shoot 2 fireballs in very quick succession, but not only that, you can meter burn the meter burn fireballs to shoot 4 fireballs very quickly for the cost of 2 bars for some chunky unbreakable damage. His fireballs can also be charged by holding the button down in this variation, which means that Liu Kang can dash cancel out of them. They didn't mention if it improves the damage of the fireballs at all, but Liu Kang having dash cancels is something quite intimidating. Not only that, his flying kick now hits twice as a standard, so it will chew through armored defensive moves, which is really crazy to see. And in general, Paulo did mention that Dragon's Fire is like the Mortal Kombat 9 variant of Liu Kang, so anyone that played Liu Kang a lot in Mortal Kombat 9 is going to feel right at home with Dragon's Fire. That is Dragon's Fire summed up, so I'm going to move on to the second variation now, which is Flame Fist. So, Flame Fist seems to be Liu Kang's rushdown variation. His fireballs will now be shot with one hand and they look a bit slower. His meter burn fireball goes back to being just a single solid projectile, but the chunk of this variation seems to come from this Flame Fist attack where he'll charge his punches, which will make his punching attacks do more damage, and it also increases the damage of his fireballs. His bicycle kick gets turned into this flurry of windmill punches, and they did mention that when you use Flame Fist alongside the windmill punches, it grants him incredible chip damage. Like, it looks absolutely ridiculous, and also a chunk of damage should it hit as well. He also gets this really cool parry which you can meter burn for more damage, which again is quite reminiscent to Liu Kang and MK9, but in general just Flame Fist looks incredible for just getting your opponent's face and just chipping them down and doing constant damage. So this is definitely the variation for the more aggressive player, but you can always make things a little bit more tricky by going with the Duelist variation. Duelist Liu Kang allows him to go into a light stance and a dark stance, so I'll start with the light stance. In light, his fireballs are apparently the fastest of all the variations, and not only that, he gains access to this healing attack, which is like an aura around him, and as long as he's charging this healing aura, he will regen life. He obviously won't be able to do this indefinitely because it's just a matter of time before your opponent hits you, but you know, it's a really useful tool to have on a character like Liu Kang. And the dark stance seems to be much more geared towards overall damage and just hitting the opponent harder, because it turns his fireballs into these slow moving orbs that don't really hit the opponent when they go through them. Instead, you can stop them mid animation and then choose to detonate these orbs later. He also has this, what they're calling a damage charge, which he can charge up to a couple of levels, and the higher level this is charged, the faster your orbs will explode, and Liu Kang can detonate these orbs at any point when he's attacking or having the opponent block, so it gives him these crazy mix-up potential, and because on hit the orbs will juggle the opponent in the air, gives him some really good combo opportunities as well. That's all he really gets in Dark Stance, but that alone seems to be all Liu Kang will need to just get some really decent damage, as well as having this health regen and keep away game from the really fast fireballs in the light stance. So that's basically Liu Kang in a nutshell, summed up, and there's one more character to go through, which is Shinnok, so Ketchup is going to take you guys through that now. When it comes to Shinnok, it definitely seems like the variety in him comes from his variations. His universal attacks are actually quite straightforward and quite simple. He has a Force Blast. It's a close range blast, similar to that of Ermac Force Blast in the Mystic variation. The Meteor Burn version will shoot it forward like a regular projectile, and it will crush projectiles, which is a really interesting feature. He has a Ground Blast. It's a 3 ground projectile thing, very similar to Shang Tsung's ground skulls in MK9. The Meteor Burn version will pop up to continue a combo, and you can actually choose which one of those ground projectiles you Meteor Burn, so that's completely up to you. Other than that, he gets a straight shoulder charge. It's a straight charge. It will knock down on hit. The Meteor Burn version has armor and seems to combo into stuff, so that could be a really dangerous move, especially if it has armor immediately. That could be a real get-off-me attack. But we'll have to wait and see. The X-Ray is a tracking move, and it does good damage. That's pretty much it. It looks really cool, but the important thing is it tracks the opponent. We're going to look at his first variation now, which is Imposter. Imposter Shinnok seems to be the closest to MK4 Shinnok, in that his big thing is that he can steal opponents' abilities. That's exactly what Imposter Shinnok is. He has a Mimic base attack, which looks like Quan Chi's trance attack, and while they're in this sort of trance, he will steal one of their abilities. I think it's 1 move per character. I don't think it's random, so we can see him use it on Sub-Zero, and he will steal the Ice Ball. The cool thing here is that the Mimic attack will actually leave the opponent stunned anyway, and the stuns of the attacks you steal will stack. So we see him stun Sub-Zero, hit Sub-Zero, but then actually combo off the Ice Ball as well to continue that. That could be really, really dangerous, especially seeing as you could probably end a combo in that as well, which means that you can do a good combo and then steal an attack to set up potentially something else afterwards. We also saw something called Air Tricky Portal. It was in the pause menu, but we didn't actually see them use it. I have no idea what it does, but we saw it in the pause menu, so I thought it was worth mentioning. When it comes to Imposter Shinnok though, that's pretty much all there is to it. He will steal an attack, and that will help him in some matchups, and maybe not so much in others. We're going to look at the next variation now, which is Bone Shaper. Bone Shaper very much seems to be the go-to close range variation here when it comes to Shinnok's playstyles. So, with Bone Shaper, he creates these bone weapons. It mainly lies in this kind of sickle that he creates. On top of looking really cool, he gets some new combo strings, as most characters do when they get a weapon variation, and he also gets access to some new special moves. The new first special move is a Ground Pound. It will actually sort of attack and track anywhere on screen. I don't remember if we saw what the Meteor Burn version does, but it will at least track and knock down on hit. He has a low scoop, which will flip the opponent over his head. The Meteor Burn version will actually pop the opponent up for more combo potential, so you could probably, start a combo with that, or you could throw it out as a mix-up. If it's still a low, then that's going to be something that you're going to have to respect. Other than that, they actually changed the properties of his Force Blast Amulet Shot style move. It is now a straight projectile all the way through. You don't have to Meteor Burn it. There's not much to this variation. It just seems to be a very mix-up heavy, get in your face, and then at the same time play a little bit of space control with the straight amulet. That's it for Bone Shaper. We're going to look at the next variation now, which is Necromancer. Necromancer Shinnok very much seems sort of taken back to his Netherrealm roots. On top of visually looking different with the skeleton hands, he gets access to 3 new special moves, 2 of which will actually track. So the first one is this kind of mid-range skeleton flick. It doesn't do much damage, but it definitely seems like this kind of move that you just use to keep the opponent in check if they get within that range. A very good kind of spacing tool, I think. The first move that tracks is a air hand. It will basically fall from the sky and will splat the opponent on hit. We didn't see what the Meteor Burn version does, if it can be Meteor Burned, but they did actually specify it was unblockable. So you're going to have to respect that quite heavily. The other tracking move is a low grab. They called it a grab, but I'm not actually sure if it is a command grab. It could be a strike, but it does look like the opponent gets grabbed by these low hands. So if they are 2 tracking moves and both of them are unblockables and grabs, you're going to have to be really scared of those from full screen, and you're going to have to get in, which means you're going to have to be careful about the range of that bone flick. But either way, I think that he's a very interesting character in total, and the variations really do let him mix up how he wants to play. He could potentially be one of the more versatile characters in the game. But that's all I have to say from Shinnok. I'm really happy with how he turned out. He looks really cool, he looks like he plays really cool, and that is Shinnok. So all in all, I was really happy with the latest Kombat Kast. It's easily my favourite cast to date. We saw some really interesting insights from the sound design team and how they create some of the more gooey and relatively disgusting sounds, so that was quite funny to see. But more than anything else, we saw some really good gameplay from some 3 very interesting characters. Erron Black looks like one of the cooler new characters in the game with his variations, giving him a lot of cool versatility. Liu Kang, fantastic to see him returning after his demise in Mortal Kombat 9, and seeing Shinnok return after such a long absence in the series really is good from a nostalgic point of view. So all in all, Ketchup and I very happy with the stream, looking forward to the new ones to come. So what do you guys think? You know, what are your favourite characters you saw return? Any new characters that you're disappointed not to see coming back the closer we get to release date? You know, we want to hear your thoughts on it. So drop us a comment on the video. If you like the content, feel free to drop us a like and a subscribe as usual. We would appreciate that, because we are going to be doing some more videos leading up to launch and beyond that. So all in all, thanks very much for watching the video, guys, and we will see you next time.